just he got pissed off at Zach Smith
or
too for
offensive lineman.
calling him. I mean, there's just something. I don't know. I don't like when these dads, I mean, get heavily involved with their quarterbacks. I've seen that so much growing up playing with talent, really talented guys, and their careers got blown by it.
Yep. It causes a big issue, man.
Yeah, you cannot have that. Just be a dad. Like
They
this is
can
like,
they become uncoachable.
yeah, they don't listen to their coach.
No. And then they're afraid to make a mistake because they're afraid they're going to get yelled at by dad. And
I feel like you guys are
even when they're
talking to me
grown
right
men,
now.
even when they're grown men, they're
No,
still like that.
no, you're not that. I'm
No,
sure.
So
I I've been working myself on that with my kid, man.
Yeah.
I
But at
reamed
least
him.
you're on. You're a good. Obviously, you're a great human, but you're also you're at least you're honest with yourself about it. You know,
He had
because
about he had about three really rough games of just not being aggressive and just not playing his game of basketball, and I reamed him pretty good. Now, the next game, which was yesterday, I was able to watch him on video, and he actually had his best game, scored 16 points, the best game of the year. So maybe it worked. But after I reamed him pretty good, just about him just not being aggressive, just looks not himself, this, that, and the other. I did feel kind of bad. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, I just need to just.
just gotta let them go.
I shouldn't have went in as much as I can because here it is what it is.
How old is he?
He's had the same two coaches his whole stinking life, which was me and another couple other guys that, obviously now he's in middle school ball. He
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
have us anymore. So I think he's just adjusting to that and everything like that. So I think it's easy when we know the type of player he is. We were able to just let him be that type of player. And, I think this time he's just like, I'm trying to do what he's saying and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm all for you being coachable and stuff like that, but you're not even looking to score. You're not looking to be aggressive. Like,
Well,
stinking, be you, dude. Be you.
I
And
know this. Like
he
when I
did come
went
out and
to,
do it.
I was him and I sound very similar. I had the same coaches my whole life, around the same people. I didn't have a change like that though until I got to high school. So it's kind of good that he's going through it now because then when he gets to high school, he'll be able to adapt to it. You know what I mean? Not being able to adjust to different coaches and because you never know in high school. But uh, that definitely affected me when I got to high school because you're with new people you don't know. You know what I mean? You're used to
Yeah.
the same guys coaching you. Your dad, like my dad was involved. Dad, you were always on the staff on my teams,
yeah.
so it's different. But good for him though for bouncing back though. Gotta go.
Yeah. I think it worked, but at the same time, it was kind of like, and for me, obviously, there is that fine line of like, yeah, you still need to listen to your coach. It's not that I don't want you to listen to your coach or be uncoachable and stuff like that, because I totally understand that. But at the same time, you got to show who you are, and you got to step up into that and be who you are. And it worked, but I was a little
Yeah,
hard
no,
on
I
him
think
because
I don't. That's not what I'm
Well,
referring to though. I think him and I are referring to like. Actually, I like that. I think that's good. It's good to get on it. Sometimes I need it tuned up. Sometimes when I was his age, you know what I mean. Sometimes we need our asses tuned up because we know it's because you know how what he's capable of doing.
I know
You know what
what's
I
in
mean?
there. Yeah.
Right. And my dad, he used to, and I got it. Like I didn't take it personal. My dad would tune me because I understood what he meant. Like, hey, you could do like even my coach John Potok, who was a family friend of ours, and I didn't really look at him as a coach. He's more like a second father. He'd get on me sometimes because he knew what I was capable of doing, and I understood what he meant as I got older, and it worked.
it,
But I think that what we're talking about though is we were around so much. I don't know if anybody. I mean, we were around so many different parents and great athletes growing up, like guys who were extremely talented, and they got ruined because their dads
yeah.
were. It wasn't about they were yelling at them. It was because they were trying to persuade the coach to what to do for their kid's benefit, which is what Derek McCord did this year, and threatening to leave. Trying, and it's not a. They don't give a shit about anybody else in that team. They'll walk over any other kid on that team. And I went through this a couple times in my career on a basketball team. I went through this in my middle school years, where there was some sideshow shit going on that they didn't think nobody knew about, but it was pretty obvious what was going on, and it ruined the whole team. It ruined the chemistry. It ruined the season, and because you have people with their own interest outside of the team, and it just I mean that's cancer in a locker room. It's
Of
cancer for the
course.
team. That's what
Yeah.
we're talking about, and
I was
they end up ruining their kids' careers because their kids. So you're doing it the right way because, like I said, he knows how to adapt now to different coaches. You know what I mean? And he's doing it the right
well.
way. A lot of
You
these
got
other kids, they don't know how to when they get away from their dad finally, these kids we're talking about, these brats, basically, they're kind of like spoiled brats a lot of them because they've been enabled by their dad. They don't know how to adapt to another coach and they won't listen to them. And they
well.
just tap out.
Here's what most parents do, and a lot of coaches do: is they don't. These are everybody says, yeah, they're just kids, but they don't really live by that. That they're just kids. They don't let these kids just live in the moment. They want them thinking about high school or college. Why the hell would you want young kids to be thinking about that? You know what I mean? You just let them be kids. Let them enjoy the game. Let them enjoy goofing off. They're not being paid $20 million a year. It's an extracurricular. That's really what it is. It doesn't define who they are. And I'm saying this shit because I went through it. And Joseph's giving me credit, but there was times I pushed Joseph and I said shit to Joseph I shouldn't have said.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
uh, and what I was doing was I was thinking about high school and college, and it was stupid. And it played a part in what he's dealt with the last 9 years. And because he pushed himself so hard to where he's breaking down mentally and having panic attacks. Part of the reason was he felt like he had to please dad so bad. You know what I mean? So let these kids just be kids. I'm actually doing a show later this week. Joseph's asked me to do this. I'm going to do my own show on here, and it's going to be talking about things like this. And but Chris, what I would say is trust what you teach him at home as a father, and just trust that because I know you do a good job. I know you and your wife do a great job with that. That'll just filter into sports. You know what I mean? And he knows. You know what I mean? If you teach him hard work at home, hey bud, one thing I taught Joseph and I teach Julia. I don't really care. I don't focus on what grade. Same with Joseph or what grade Julia brings home. I focus on her effort.
Mm.
Just put 110% in and let it fall where. Because if they do that, they're going to come out ahead most of the time. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Remember, I used to say that in the sales meetings. Be
Yeah.
doing something productive. You're going to come out ahead. So
There you go, Dad. Dad said you got tuned. I got tuned.
yeah,
Great moment your dad will remember.
right. So that's what I'm saying is just trust what you do at home and how you raise him. That'll carry on in the sports. Uh, I, I I'm just not a proponent of here. You get on your kid if they do something wrong, morally wrong, or they're disrespectful to an adult, or they disrespect you, or this shit's just extracurricular, man. We get so wrapped up in it. It's our life. I mean, it's so much of our culture, sports. And you think about this, young girls are everything they see and everything they're taught is they got to look a certain way. You know what I mean? They got to look a certain way, act a certain way. And then boys, all they're taught is sports, 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 sports. You know what I mean? And you go into Dick's Sporting Goods, you just look at the amount of apparel for these young kids and how much money they're charging for it, and we buy it up. Hell, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on it. It's just sports. Let them
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it, man. You can't force
To
them. I forced Joseph. Joseph, here, I didn't listen to him going into coming out of his freshman year and his sophomore year. He didn't want to play football because he wasn't feeling good. Things were going on, and I didn't want to hear it. I didn't listen to my son. I was too focused on what I wanted for him, what I thought was best for him, and it forced him to go in there half-hearted. And it just, you just don't want to do that to a kid. They got to want it. You got to leave it up to them. All you can do is encourage, and they'll be fine, dude. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you this because I'm telling you're going to see when I do this. This has become. You know me pretty well, and you've spent the last 9 years around me. How passionate this has made me, and I just, you know what I mean. I just don't ever want another kid. And I'm not saying that about Jace.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm always going to give another father that kind of advice because I've went through it now, and and we've tried to do a hell of a lot better job with Julia, and it's just the kids get their childhood taken away from them, man. It's just not fun anymore. They gotta have fun. You gotta have fun in what you're doing. Think about what you do and what I do. We want to have fun. Think about these kids. They're little kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
This shit should just be fun for them. And if, like I said, what they're taught at home, that'll carry on in the sports. It's like if you got a kid at home that's not disciplined, he's disrespectful, he's terrible. Do they ever truly ever make it sports? They don't. They don't. They don't have the character, the integrity, the work ethic. You teach a kid if a kid just knows work ethic and he's taught respect and discipline, that's what propels kids through. That's what gives them an opportunity in not just sports, but anything they do. So just, you know what I mean? Don't put,
absolutely.
yeah, just don't ever, and I'm not saying you do that, but I'm just
Oh, I
saying,
know.
man,
No, I
just
do
don't,
it. That's the problem.
yeah, don't
I
take it
think
from them,
I
dude.
think if
Let him
I
have
was
fun.
as
It's
someone
okay
as
that
a
he takes a couple games off. He's a kid.
well, I think too, as someone who just came out. I mean, I'm only 9 years removed. That's not a long time. I mean, in this era of playing sports, and a lot of what's going on nowadays. I think too, what really help. I think if I was, not that I've ever been a parent, but I think something you did, Dad, that I looking back on now, and I think works. Matt Machezi's mentioned because Matt works with kids all the time as a former pro. And one thing he says too, he can't. He said as soon as a parent walks in and says, "Well, my kid's the hardest worker," immediate red flag, because he knows what he's going to get eventually. The kid's going to start arguing with him down the road because the parents are enabling that. You got to, but I think the second kind of goes with that. What my main point is, I think if you want your kid to be successful in sports, is not that I mean, I had to retire early medically, but I think I've seen a lot of guys who I know how I've seen what it takes to get there, to make it to college or to be successful. I know guys who have done it, learn from guys who've done it. And one of the most important coaches I ever had in my life was a guy who played professional baseball, Jim Gleisner. And for how old's Jace, Chris?
13.
So yeah, right. When I was 12, 13 years old, for my whole life, I was an okay baseball hitter. I wasn't great at hitting the baseball. I was an okay player. I just, I was a good role player. But by the time I got to my 12, 13-year-old part in my baseball career, whatever you want to call it, I wanted to become better at it because I was playing more competitive. I needed to up my game. And so him and I would constantly, growing up, we would try to go to the batting cages, and he would try to coach me. He didn't play baseball. He was trying, though. He meant well. But what my dad did, which is what a lot of parents don't do, I think nowadays, is find somebody who will invest in your kid like you invest in them, but they know what they're doing more than you. So he invested me into Jim Gleisner, a pro baseball player, and he didn't try to tell Jim about me. He didn't try to tell Jim anything what to do. He just said, "Jim, I'm sign up." He just signed up the lessons, and he trusted that Jim would do his job. And Jim Gleisner uh, turned my whole career around in baseball. That next year, I was one of the best hitters probably in the entire league. My on base percentage and home run, I was killing it. I
You
was
were the best
unstoppable.
hitter.
I had zero. I mean, I had 100% confidence at that plate the next year because I trusted what the guy was telling me. But I've seen a lot of parents, and Jim would tell me this all the time. And I've seen there's kids that I knew who started working with Jim, but their parents wouldn't give it a shot. You know what I mean? Over the on the lawn run, because they would judge it too quick, or they would say it's a gimmick. But you have to find somebody that knows what they're doing, and invest in your kid like you want, how you invest in them, and it'll pay off. That's the key to me, because I think if you can find that, he'll learn what it's like to be coached by somebody else, but also he'll learn from somebody that knows what they're doing, that's been there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
made it
what
to that.
and what Jim reiterated which is the most important thing of all this. And he said it to me at the beginning of your first session. It's all confidence.
Right.
And it's like that.
Mental.
And anything we do in life, it's all
And
confidence.
confidence comes from your practice. It comes perfect practice makes great
All right.
confidence. And because I was working with somebody that knew he's professional, he knows better than anybody. He played at the highest level. He knew exactly what he was doing because he's done it himself. If you've never done it yourself, that's like me trying to tell you guys how to desk a deal. I've never done it. You know what I mean? I don't like. You got to
Well,
find. I think it's important to find somebody that has the best interest in your kid, cares as much as you do, but also knows how to get them there too. He'll put because, like you said, it's all about the confidence. It doesn't mean they're going to make it to the pros or be a great college player. It's just about that confidence. And a lot of the things Jim Gleisner taught me, I use those lessons for the rest of my life about
right.
repetition, and a lot of it helped me get out of my anxiety because about that practice, how we used to rep it out in that gym. It's the same thing now, getting over agoraphobia. It's repetition, it's momentum, it's consistency, it's confidence.
Well, you think about how I'm just gonna say it's just a really simple thing. You think about like young kids, they'll go try anything. You know what I mean? Like a little kid will just go pick up a ball or anything. Don't have to be a sport or anything. They'll just go try anything. They seem like they have like unwavering confidence because that's how we're actually
They're more
supposed to
fearless.
be. It's just no one's taken it from them yet. And so that's what happens is adults take the confidence out of these kids and destroy them. And it don't matter how much physical ability they have, someone takes their confidence from them.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and it's usually somebody that's very influential in their life that does it. A coach, a parent. You know what I mean? So,
well, that's why I say I applaud you, Chris, for even bringing that up. Because without
yeah,
I was talking about Derek. I really applaud you for admitting
yeah.
that where you think you meant and saying that publicly too. Really, that's pretty awesome. But which mean that's you guys are gonna be fine. When see a lot of parents though, Chris, won't do that, and
Of
that's
course.
why I've seen a lot of kids, not just forget sports careers, because only a small percentage makes it. A lot of kids' lives kids I grew up with that I loved, their lives are just they're not going anywhere. They're depressed. They're down in the dumps because they feel like they let everybody down. A lot of them they won't even come out of their houses anymore. Like there's kids out there that I know that are just in a horrible space in their life right now. They have no goals, no desires, no nothing. You know what I mean? Nothing. They have nothing.
Only
And
because
their parents wouldn't put their pride aside.
the sad thing is, it's not that they committed a crime or killed somebody or did something horrific. They just didn't make it in in a sport. You know what I mean? So they're here. We got a kid, and I won't mention his name, Gergs, but I used to tell you about him all the time. He was on our team that we won nationals with. He was 12 years old, running a 4.5 40. He could throw the ball 60, 70 yards in the air. He was throwing a baseball 80 something miles an hour. He was running 100 meters at 11 flat. Extraordinary talent. I mean, just unbelievable talent. Every other coach I've ever been around that went against him. I talked to a guy that ran Mogador youth football for 35 years. He's seen a lot of good players. He told me, he said he's the greatest football player I've ever seen. I mean, and he had a father like that. And he came into the previous dealership I was at 2-3 years ago. And it's the first time I'd seen him. He had played at Hoban for a little bit. And I just think his dad messed that up. He ended up over at Barberton.
He watches the podcast, by the way, too.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I don't really care. Here, I told him this when I saw him because I love him. And but he when I saw him at my old dealership, he just was down, and he started telling me about some of the issues he had, and it was all about because he felt like the whole city of Akron with this. He's going pro. He's going to NFL. He's going to NFL. He's going to NFL. He's going to major leagues, and it just didn't work out for him. He started getting injured. It just didn't work out, and so I mean, he was so down on himself. He was having anxiety attacks, and it was crazy to see him like that. But it was like he was like that because he just felt like he let everybody down. And it was the furthest thing from the truth. He's still a good human being. You know what I mean? And now he's a
Yeah.
father. And so, but his confidence completely shattered just because he didn't make it in a sport. And it was just terrible to see, man. And I, and I try to talk to him. I say, hey, your body broke down on you. Go coach, because he's still so competitive. He's one of the most competitive people I've been around. I said, go coach youth sports. I mean, these kids need good coaches. He didn't even feel like he could go coach. He didn't even think he was good enough to go coach. It's just how torn down he was just because he didn't make it in football or baseball. That's sad.
And he
That
still was
a
one of the
young
best
man.
players. I mean, the
I'm
fact
just
that
saying.
oh, I know, but he's still. I mean, my gosh, but that's how impressive he was. Though.
Yeah,
He
my
a great
God.
kid too. What actually good friend of mine. I love him dearly. Um, but yeah, I don't know,
This
man. It's
shouldn't be
crazy
like
out there.
that, man. How many of these guys feel like that?
Well, and I think like that case there, other ones, we've ran into a lot of those people down the road when they got into high school, and a lot of them started to say like, you know what, you got to back off a little bit. Like you start to see it, you don't see it till you get to high school. High school is when you really start to see it.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a really good friend of mine. His kid was a really good player growing up. His dad was a great basketball player, went to college and big time player. I remember he told me one day, and when when his son was in like 7th grade, he goes, "Dude," he's like, "Joe," or maybe it was ninth. His son just told him, he's like, "Dad, just leave me alone." And he said, "You know what? I just back off from now on." He just let him go on, and the kid was happy with high school, you know, and he didn't really care what happened. But
Listen, yeah, because here, listen, there's worse things in life, okay, than what Joseph's had to endure the last 9 years. And it's been hard on our whole family, but man, and I'm not saying that's the only thing that contributed to it, but I don't, I, I'm so passionate now about people having anxiety, especially youth, kids and young adults. And I'll do anything to keep that from happening to any kid. So it's very painful for me to see that and or see it developing because I can spot it from a mile away now. Just see it developing in a child or a teenager, and in here, and a lot of you know, by the grace of the Lord, there's Joseph, he's come out way ahead on this, and because he would hang on to God and he had hope. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids don't have that; they don't have hope, so worse things start to happen, and it's sad because it's always by an adult's hand that happens.
Well, here, obviously, you know, things definitely happen, and obviously, you know, there's purpose in everyone, and
Right.
but yeah, with that being said, yeah, I mean, I that is one thing I think for the longest time, it's obviously through sports you can develop so many good habits in
Oh,
life,
oh yeah,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know,
like maybe more than anything.
and and so it's to me, obviously, do I think Jace is going to go, be a professional athlete? Yeah, obviously, I understand that the world's up against it. The
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's unlikely,
We're all
obviously.
up against it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think if you strive for that, even if you miss, you're still going to be mentally tough and mentally um, but I agree. I mean, sometimes, you got to get it the other way where, you're quote unquote supposed to go and then you don't. And then now you feel like you've just lost your purpose in life.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously that can definitely, affect it. So yeah, I'm definitely a work in progress with him. Again, I've coached him pretty much his whole life. So, it's learning for me too,
Oh,
It's
I
a good thing
know.
you're doing it
by
now though,
by
because
trying to back
middle
up and
school's
just
middle school still got that youthful side to it. Once you get to high school, it's still youthful, but it's high school's a little different. You know what I mean? You're dealing
yeah.
with a lot more politics. Uh, and you're dealing with coaches that have been running their programs for a lot of them for years, and they don't want to listen to anybody. A lot of them, which is kind of a problem. But
Well, Chris, you just said the uh, key few words: purpose in life, and that's what I would tell anyone. Hey, just make sure your kid knows their purpose in life, and their purpose in life is they only have one purpose.
Exactly.
That is to serve others and to be a servant.
Yep.
And if they, as long as they know that, that's one thing we've always taught. Joy and I have always taught Joseph and Julia. We've done our best. We've tried is teach them servanthood and to be servants. And Joseph is certainly a servant. He does that with his show, and when he talks about, he gets on there, he talks about mental health. He's doing it as a ministry and to serve others, and he serves in other ways also. And so does Julia. I mean, they understand that their purpose in life is to serve and benefit other people the best they can. And you know that, Chris.
Yeah.
And so I just think a lot of people don't know their purpose, and it's really simple. Just be a servant. It took me a long time to really figure that out, even though I was a servant most of my career as far as work. But when I really figured that out, what I was passionate about, what made me happy, that's when my life really got so much better. So, and really, truthfully, I want to find an even greater way to serve, even if that means changing career. Sometimes I feel like that's what I want to do. I don't really want to. I do it every day. I'm coaching. I'm helping people get themselves here when they only thought they could be here. And but sometimes I feel like I want to go to an even greater capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know what I mean? So, and it might not be doing what I'm doing, but that's what I mean, because when you do that, when you just serve others all day, man, you just lay your head down at night and you just have total peace in your life. It don't matter how much money you make. None of that matters. Who cares? You got people. How many people do we know that got all the money in the world and they're not servants and they're miserable? And then you know someone that makes a wage or they don't got a pot to piss in, man.
Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're successful.
No, but it's usually, and that's what I'm saying. But they're not happy. There's no money doesn't buy happiness. So, and material and all and likes on social media and all that crap. You got some people that they don't have any friends, or they have very few friends, and they have no money, but they serve every day and they're happy. They have total peace and they're happy. So that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
I like how I was getting ready to close the podcast. We went into a whole nother podcast.
Well, I hear you, Chris. You can see, because I'll go on and on and on. But you know what I mean. I'm just so.
No, and Chris, I really think that means that's pretty awesome that you were vulnerable like that.
Yeah, it is, dude.
And a lot of people, a lot of parents, I wish would have more of your, not only, I know your beliefs and stuff, which we have the same beliefs, but also just be able to admit that and to be able to correct, and because Jace will see that. Jace will see that, remember that too.
That's the greatest thing for Jace to see, dude. To see his dad vulnerable like that.
He responded to it too. And he played well. So shout out Jace. He kicking ass. I'm gonna come check him out. But yeah, I gotta go see him now.
He's a good kid. He's definitely
he's a great kid. Yeah.
But
he's got a great Kobe Bryant jersey too. That was fire.
Yeah. Well,
he's got a lot of
But yeah, I mean, here, one thing people will know about me, I'm as genuine as I can get, man. I am me, home, outside of work, don't matter. I am who I am. And, and if you don't like me, I don't care.
He got that. He might have left Detroit, but he still got some at Detroit in him.
Well, that's what I love about you, Gergs.
Well, here.
There ain't no phoniness, dude.
Well, yeah. Right. Because guess what? At the end of the day, I'm not here for you or anyone else. I'm here for purpose. Exactly. Obviously, at the end of the day, if God's pleased with me, that's all I care about. Because
Dan said, "You three guys are great human beings. Proud to call you friends and say that I know you. Love you guys. Have a good night. Have a great week. Love you too, Dan. We're glad
Love you too, bud.
Thanks for all you've done for me as well.
Me also, man.
little buck coming in there to Fred Martin as a young kid. Dan always made me laugh more than anybody. I always just wanted to go to Fred Martin just so I could hang out with Dan, just behind the desk and just laugh. Dan can light up a room like anybody else.
Dan has a gift.
Yeah,
100%. Dan is a gifted human, and it's not just because I'm going to ask for a raise or anything like that.
Yeah, keep kissing that ass. We need to.
Dan is a very, very, very good human, and he's a good dude, and he's
great father.
He's taught me a lot.
No, he's a good dude. He's one of the most loyal people I've ever met. He's a good father. I mean, great father. I mean, he's great husband. But he does have that gift. Dan kept me sane all those years. He just makes me laugh. And I think Dan, I don't know if he's still watching this, but I think he likes to make me laugh. He lives to make me laugh.
Yeah. That's what I like about Dan, because Dan said this earlier too. He said the same speech sounded like the same speech I gave when Chris rolled up to the Fred Martin Haas softball game, just wearing the Jordan 1s, no phone, no glove, no drink. You didn't bring a drink or your car keys. It was like
He just came walking over the hill.
First off, I'll start by saying they weren't Starberries. Come on,
it was
now.
Jordan 1s.
And second off, they put me in the 8-hole and I went 4 for 4. So I don't know. I might not have had a glove, but I didn't need one.
But you had the best. I mean, you just, because I think you showed up a little later.
He did.
And you just came over the hill right there in Kenmore.
Oh, yeah.
Just walked right over and just showed up. But it wasn't, nobody really noticed until Dan just looked up. And when Dan saw you walking down the hill, he just couldn't help but just he was like, okay.
Of course.
He's charging over that hill.
Yeah, just go. Like, you walked up like you're from, like, you could tell you grew up in Detroit. Like, I'm just here to play. Like, where do I go? I don't got time for this shit.
That was the first time I've played baseball in probably 12 years, and it didn't matter.
Because the best part was, like, Dan's got the gear and all this, because Dan's always got to be decked out and give the gear and everybody else, and you just showed up in shorts and a t-shirt.
Of course. Here, listen, I couldn't find my glove, and there's definitely no way I was going to buy one for a one-off game. So
no, I mean, Haas is like a pro team pulling up. My gosh, those guys act like it was like a game was on ESPN.
Yeah, and they worked us anyways. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad
out there. We had guys smoking cigarettes and talking about leads and donuts in the dugout.
Yeah.
Kurt, did you play in that one that was in Norton?
Yeah, heck yeah, I did.
Those guys hit like 50 homers.
Oh no, not the baseball one. No, I played in the one in Norton in the football, but
the softball.
You didn't play in that one,
dude.
That's when Reinhardt was at the plate with the.
Yeah, we had the jerseys and stuff. They must have bombed out 50 balls on us. It was just like
P-Car was pitching.
Oh my gosh.
We had P-Car was pitching. P-Car was throwing the meatballs. I mean, it was just boom.
I think I didn't show up because I was still salty that I got put in the 8-hole.
Yeah.
But I'm talking
about. Did you come to the Memorial Day games?
I would have put myself in the 8-hole showing up without a glove. I mean, I guess I don't blame them, but
did you show up did you come to the basketball games?
Oh, heck yeah.
Like Memorial Day? We did the 2 days and the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Dan, if you're still watching this, I got an idea. I might run out of place right by me and maybe run that back. We can get all the guys to do another like Memorial Day basketball thing again. I think that'd be fun for like a couple hours.
I don't think I've ran since, so
that
might be a hard thing for me to do, but I would be willing. Yes.
It was me, Caffeine Cowboy, Sanders, and I had somebody else on I think Constantine was on my team for a little bit too. And I remember Marty was there. But the star of the show was Marty Animal. No points, but a triple-double. Rebounds, blocks, and steals.
Listen, I will show up just to see Dan throw throw a layup off the backboard like a 80-mile-an-hour fastball. Oh
He
crap!
said
He
eight
is
hole
watching.
is double. Yeah, 8 hole is double cleanup, bud. Needed your seeing eyes. Sing. Try P. Carl.
See? Yeah, I did. You're darn right. You're darn right. Baseball's never been my never been my number one. That's for sure. And it actually my kid's actually pretty darn good at it. But that is one where I've just completely put all the trust in his coaches, because to be honest with you, sometimes I'll just yell at the ump when the coaches are yelling at the ump, but I don't even know really what the rule is. I just believe them.
You're just yelling, yeah, fuck yeah.
They're like, that wasn't, that's a balk. And I'm like, yeah, that's a balk. I don't even know what a balk is. I mean,
oh my gosh.
my kid's like, Dad, what are you talking about?
Somebody have like a personal vendetta with the like the umpire, like a personal one, like, say something about his wife or something, and Chris would be like, yeah, what he said.
I tell you what, I've never really played baseball much. I think I played when I was young, but and I was
probably
actually
wasn't a lot of
darn
nice
good.
fields in Detroit, was there?
Exactly. I actually was.
Yeah.
I actually got selected to the All-Star game when I was younger, but I stopped playing. And to be honest with you, I probably have almost gotten into more fights as a baseball dad than any other thing. And I don't know why.
I've actually seen more fights in baseball with parents than any other sport I played. I mean, I see some, like, we've been involved in some all-out brawls. The biggest ball I ever hit in my life. How far did I hit that ball out there at North? It was 300, I think. It was.
Yeah, and you were what, 12 years old?
Yeah, there was
you
a
were
huge.
12 that year.
It was a
you probably
huge
hit that. You probably hit
brawl.
that ball 300 feet, a little over 300 feet.
It was right down center field.
field.
Well, I hit it into the other field where the T-ball game was going on. I felt bad, but there was a huge.
Sure you did.
Well, I mean, when I sat in the dugout, I looked over at the T-ball field, and little kids were sitting there like this. So I was like, "Oh, I don't want to hit a kid," but I don't think I hit it. I didn't hit anybody though, thank gosh. But no, we had a brawl in that game though. It was a huge brawl, shit talking going on. Parents and kids got thrown out of the game. One of our kids had to like leave and go to the hospital or something. He got hurt. They just took him home, and we were down 6-0. And I remember that game, we just got really, I don't know, we just hit like a rhythm. And I hit the home run, and then ever since then we just took off, and we came back and won the game. But
yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy game, man.
That was a crazy game. Never forget my dad telling my coach. Never forget my dad. There was one morning we had a game all the way down to Massillon, and our coach was out, so we had assistants in, and the assistants' kids usually were at the bottom. And they moved their kids up to the top and put me at the bottom of the order. And my dad wasn't too pleased about it. So that game, I proceeded to hit another home run. It's just out of anger.
Oh, he's told me this.
And he made sure to let them know it, and I did.
No, that was the first time you had been working with Jim with Gleisner for about 30 days. So so you hit one. You're down 0-2 in a count. Well, the first at bat you struck out, and so because you were pissed off too. So, I remember telling you, say, it's all right, bud, it's all right. And you start working with the hit stick, and so that was your second at bat. You came up, you were down like 1-2 in a count, and you blast that thing out center field. And he came back, and obviously it's the beauty of young kids play baseball, man. All the kids were at the home plate, and he came across the plate. And when he came up to me, I said right in front of the other coach, I said not bad for being the bottom of the lineup like that. And that other coach got so pissed off, man. He starts yelling. He's like, "What's that supposed to mean?"
And you said, "You know exactly what that fucking means."
I get all these kids around. I'm like, "You know what the fuck that means?"
Dude, like I said, I don't know what it is about baseball, but it gets my juices flowing. It's like, it doesn't get me football gets me, but I honestly, I feel like I'm almost getting into fights at least every other game.
I think it's, you know what I think it is? I think it's even when you watch baseball, it's the anticipation with every pitch. You know what I mean? What's going to happen with each pitch? I think that's what it is. I think it just keeps you on edge. Or I'll tell you this, you know, he played 3 different sports and he was pretty good at all 3 of them. Baseball was probably the least of all of them, but he was good at all 3. But I think I told you this before, Chris. There's no greater feeling for a dad than to see his son hit a homer.
Oh, I
Not
agree.
hit that ball, dude. Your head as a father, you feel like you can go through a brick wall, man. You're like walking around like, yeah, motherfucker. I mean, you're just like looking around like, yeah, that's my son. You know what I mean? I remember that game where they where that brawl started when he hit that homer. Now this is like later in the season. One of the other dads on the team, he walks up in the dugout. I'm in the dugout because I'm one of the coaches, and he grabs Joseph's bat. He starts like looking at the bat, like Joseph's in Little League running a hot bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
So
looked at him.
I proceeded to grab another bat and
Well,
went out there and hit a double.
yeah,
But
well,
go
I
ahead.
told him. And he did that right in front of me, man. And I got pissed. I'm like, I started yelling. I said, "Here, I said, you take any effing bat off that fence, and he'll go out there with that, and he'll do the same damn thing. Get the hell
What
out
I
of here, man!
which is
Don't come
what I
here
did.
like what's that?
I took his kid's bat. I literally took his kid's bat and went out there and hit a
Good
double.
grief! But that's just crazy though. Like that's another. I would never like walk up and try to take a kid's glory away, or you know what I mean? Discredit them for what they just did.
Well, they didn't hear.
I'm gonna go look at this bat.
No, and it goes back to the point I made earlier about parents. You put me with somebody that you let him coach me that knew what he was doing. Even like when I struck out in that game in Maslin, Jim taught me how to be. When you work with a pro, you learn all the little details about baseball and any whatever sport it is. You learn how to become a puppet master, which is very key to be a good athlete because you see, okay, this is what he's throwing. Next time I come up, he's going to throw this. You start to pick up on things and read things pretty quickly in a game, which is what I did a lot of times. I just start dissecting that pitcher, and it was pretty easy to read him. But also, I put the work in. I put a lot. I put that. Jim and I put thousands of reps in
Right.
that cage, hours, thousands of reps. That's what it takes to be good and great or something. You know what I mean? That's what that guy didn't understand because that guy just thinks it's just some luck. But again, he doesn't understand because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, my favorite thing is parents that want to complain about their kids' playing time, or parents
Right.
that want
That's the whole point.
to they want to take the time to make every other excuse as to why their kid isn't playing, instead of taking that time that they're complaining and actually going and working with the kid to make them better. And it's my number one pet peeve. And I think baseball, the reason why I get so frustrated is because I feel as if it's the sport where I just constantly hear other parents on the other side talk crap,
Yeah.
but will consistently do it because they feel as if they're protected by their environment.
You're absolutely right.
And I guess I'm just the kind of guy that, here, obviously I did it with Swarm that one time. It's here, dude. I don't care where we are. If you're really talking this, we can be about it. I mean, it
Right. You're
doesn't.
not a phony. You're from Detroit. You ain't fucking around.
Well,
You know
here,
what I mean?
and I'm not trying to say I'm some big bad person. I mean, to be
No, but
honest with you,
it's respect. It's actual,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
real versus fake is what it
I
is.
I probably would have got beat up a couple different times by a couple of those parents that I stood up to, but
But you wouldn't have backed down though.
never.
It's not in your blood. You know what I mean? That's the difference between a real person and a punk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the Motown, baby. It's the biting kneecaps.
Right.
Well,
It's like
the other thing I
I
used
learned
to
from growing up with my uncles and growing up in Akron and Cuyahoga Falls, just the competitiveness. That's why, like as soon as that, I remember that, as soon as that guy challenged me with the bat, my dad started going off on him. My dad didn't have to tell me what to do. I just went ahead and grabbed the other bat and just went out there myself because I was just like, this son of a bitch, he thinks he knows something. I'm gonna go out there. Once you get me going, because I'm a very mild kid, but once you get my juice going and get my competitive fire out, I'm gonna try to destroy you. That's just how I am. I don't
There
stop.
was
There's
a
like a
game
mode that
last.
like a
There was
switch that flips.
there was a game last year where this is a funny one. Then I'll get out of here. But There was a game last year where it was a very, very, very good baseball game, actually, and I give this team a lot of credit, but it was in Canton and we were playing Lake, and I think it was like a 6-6 game, and anyways, we ended up losing by one, but they had zero reason why I got mad. But after the game, the coach was just wouldn't shake the other coach's hand, and it really had nothing to do with me. But then he just started running his mouth to the other coach while walking away, and the other coach on our team was getting held back. And again, back to your protected environment, so you're just talking mad smack. I just don't like that kind of stuff. Like, why are you talking crap? Literally, while the other coach is like, while walking away, like, why didn't you say something when you were in line with him shaking his hand? I mean, why do you have to wait?
Yeah.
So I didn't take it. So then I started saying, hey, buddy, if you have something to say, come on over and say it. We can work this out.
Oh yeah. That's why
And
I love my coach, John Potok, growing up. Because I
and
remember
so
one time. Oh, go ahead.
and so I was walking over to him, and this other guy was sitting in his chair, and he's like, hey, buddy, hey, let's just stop this, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, look, dude, if you want to get into this, you can too, but I'm going to go over there and we're going to settle this. Like, not obviously with fist, but we're going to talk this out because he clearly has a problem. Like, and I want to know what's going on. Well, this dude stood up, and I'm not kidding you. He must have been about 6'8". And and I'm still talking to this guy like as if him standing up didn't really affect me whatsoever, and everybody behind me like kind of like shrunk back, you know what I mean? They were like, oh crap, and I'm still talking to this guy, and everybody just behind me is just laughing. Like, this dude just literally is still in this guy's like chest because he can't even reach his face, and he's still talking out the fact that this guy had a problem and this, that, and the other. My wife's like, Chris, please just get away. And I'm like, it's principle, Hannah. It's just a principle of it. I'm just a very principle kind of guy, but
It
it
reminds
was,
me of my coach growing up in one of our football the year before we won nationals. John, one time, this other team in our league, they would always talk shit, and their coach was kind of like a hothead, and they just always wanted to talk shit about us. And so one day we were supposed to play them finally, and they ducked the game. They somehow just got out of the game because they didn't want to play us. And we were pissed. Obviously, we got there, we got warmed up. It was supposed to be a big game, and they just ducked out last minute. And I remember, never forget, 100 yards, standing 100 yards away, John just went and challenged this guy, like, you got a problem? We'll settle right here in the middle of the field in front of everybody. And John was right in the guy's face. And they got to the point where the guy was like, oh, he was getting scared, noodle knees when John finally checked him like a man. And I just remember John just decided to call him the P word for everybody. And that was the end of that.
No, it
Just
got
walked away.
worse.
It got worse.
There was some other things that were said that were.
Yeah, but I mean, so that, you know what though, that coach, I don't think he ever came back either. He got his ass up out of there. So
yeah. Here, and obviously there are other parents. All I heard, when I was trying to talk to the guy, were all the other parents from the other team, like, you're just mad because your team lost. And it's like, here, guys, if you knew me, you would completely understand that the fact here, I've been around teams that have lost before. Like, I know how to handle a loss. Like, it has nothing to do with the
it's not
fact
that
that we
serious at the
lost.
end of the day.
If we would have won, and you
Right.
still would have been like that, I still would be doing the same thing, because it has nothing to do with wins or losses. It has everything to do with the fact that you are running your mouth for no reason. And if there is a reason, I want to know the reason.
Probably just salty they lost.
But yeah, I mean, it's no, they actually won the game.
Oh,
And
I don't. I mean, yeah. I
but
mean, you always get those parents just living through the kid. That's basically all. I mean, they went out there, won the game.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I mean? He acted like he was playing pitcher and just threw this flawless game. Like, no, you were in the stands drinking a Polar Pop. Just sit there and be a day. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say a little bit ago. How many of these parents they have a Polar Pop, but it's not really Polar Pop inside it. Yeah, and that's
Not at
why.
our games, it wasn't. I don't know about some of these other
That's
games.
I'm telling you,
Oh,
it's not
that's
just
everywhere.
there, and
Yeah,
that's why a lot of these games get out of hand because parents are liquored up.
Yeah, that's true. But I do need to get better, obviously, at that. But I don't know. Again, there's just something about baseball that just
Yeah, it
gets me
is. It's
going.
different. I agree. It is different. Before we get out of here, though, he said Chris's favorite quote: "You ain't got to be scared to get beat up."
It's true.
I'll tag that one.
And I
Star that.
and I always and here I've told plenty of people that, but I mostly do it when they're telling me that I'm going to be beat up, and it is what it is. I've been beat up before. You know, it
Sometimes you
doesn't.
get knocked down, but you get back up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Takes a man to get back up. Yeah, not too many of them out there anymore.
I'm not scared to be beat up. Let's just say that.
No.
And
Yeah, it's like people don't
I
realize
don't
too.
want to
Like,
fight. I don't want to fight.
no, and
I
you like
want to talk.
you grew up poor too. Did you said if you grew up a certain way or like
Pretty
my
darn poor, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've for 7 years of my life I had everything taken away from me. My dad had times. It's like, nothing compares to that. Like, who cares about getting beat up or if you lose a fight? You know what I mean? Nothing compares to all the other stuff you went through. So the hell with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And again,
It doesn't
by no
define
means
you
am
as a
I ever
man.
trying to fight anyone
No.
at any time. It's just clearly if you have something that is upsetting you, I want to talk it through instead of you just consistently talking crap. It's just let's just get this over with, let's settle it, and let's move on.
Well, yeah. What you're really saying is, why don't you just act like you're basically telling the other person, like, why are you acting like this at a kid's game?
Yeah.
Like, or
Well,
any game? Like, it's just not that. Why are you talking shit? It's just not that serious. Like, just you won, act like you've been there, and just go home. It's not
yeah.
that you're gonna go home back to your life. I'm gonna go back to my life. You're not
And
proving anything by acting like an animal. Like, I wish people would put that much energy into more important things that are going on in society and in life. Maybe we'd have a better, stuff happening right now. But
I
it's
just
just
feel
not
like if
happening.
you have issues, if I had an issue with someone, I would address them. I
Right.
wouldn't beat around the bush, yell at them across the field or in a controlled environment. You know, I told one salesperson, who's now a sales manager at Fred Martin many years ago, who would consistently run his mouth through Fred Martin. And he's actually a good friend, of all of ours. And, he's a good dude. But the one time I was very angry at him because he just kept going and going and going and going. And I told him, I said, you don't talk like this outside of these walls, do you? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, because if you talked like the way you do in these walls outside of work, you wouldn't be talking like that right now because
Hmm.
you would have already been beat up plenty of
It's
times.
easy to talk when you got your coaches around you and you just won your game, and you're a big tough guy then. But
Yeah.
I had to run outside and break it up.
1-on-one though, and
I started screaming.
it
I
really
said, "Get
matters.
your asses back in the show!"
Yeah.
I'm here. It is what it is. But it was true.
Oh yeah, who's a twister?
People talk, but
We'll have to do another whole
Yeah.
show on all this stuff. This is good. We might have to come back with this stuff. It's good stuff. But
yep.